Welcome to the Move, Lift, Explore podcast with Athletic Strength Club. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And check us out at athleticstrengthclub.com to learn more. Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. This is Rob Badstein, coach, owner, and director of training at Athletic Strength Club. With me today are Coach Kyle and Coach Anthony. And today we're looking to discuss nutrition. So we're kind of going to go over high-level nutrition as well as a little bit about all of our journeys to where we're at now, or our progression from how we started eating to how we eat today and how we started to eat to optimize our performance and our health.
First off, we got to address the elephant in the room. Rob and I switched chairs. It's a skill to be a middle. It reminded me of this great episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where a dinner party gets ruined because Larry's cousin Andy, who's an insufferable human being, is sitting at the middle of the table having pointless conversations with his wife, and everybody else is just checked out. You got to have skill to be a middle. I know you got it. I hope I had it last time, but you know that's the elephant in the room. All right,
it feels like a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it is. It is. No, that's the thing. It's a responsibility to be a middle. You got to keep the conversation flowing from both sides. Yep. But I believe in you.
Can't let anybody feel neglected here.
Yeah,
it's all inside
exactly.
this game. Yep. Let's see. Maybe we'll flow from left to right. We'll start with Kyle. Have you run through, all right, when did you first start thinking about nutrition as something you need to consciously think about on a day-to-day basis and of what you're eating, what you're intaking, and how it's going to affect your performance, your growth, your strength, all that good stuff?
So I probably really started thinking about my nutrition when I was probably in high school, like 16 or so. That's when I really started getting to lifting pretty hard, and I started my lifting, and there's a lot on the dinner plate. You know, it's like, all right, I'm just going to get my workouts. What's my next workout? And then all of a sudden you start becoming better at that. And then I was like, all right, now I got to start eating right. And that's once I got better at my programming with lifting, then I became nutrition. And I started off with just the classic mass gainer shakes and eating whatever there was on the dinner table, pretty much, you know, the cereal for breakfast. And I would pig out at school lunch, that's for sure. But yeah, anything that was in front of me, I would eat. And then a few years went by and I got more advanced into my lifting, and I definitely gained good weight. And then that's where I started having to really dial my nutrition in more, because now my lifting became much more advanced. I can't just keep eating anything that's in front of me. I got to really start thinking about what I'm putting into my body and what it's doing to help fuel me, you know? And so that's where I got into, I would always do protein shakes, eating, you know, the proper amount of protein. And then that's where carbs became big time, because I was never a big carb eater. I never really tracked my calories. I ate a ton of meat, ton of protein shakes, milk, eggs, all that stuff. But when it came to eating carbs, rice, all that, I never really touched any of it. So when I started tracking my calories is when I really was like, oh wow, my nutrition is terrible right now. Like, this is why my workouts are feeling so spotty. You know, one workout's good, one's like in the gutter. I'm like, slept good, what's going on? You know? And so once I started really tracking those calories, I was like, all right, I'm seeing a lot more stability. My workouts are very even across the week. You know, it's not spotty. And that's when the nutrition really started picking up for me. It was 18 or 19, you know, and I really started tracking the calories, and that made a world of a difference there. And that's where my journey's gone through now. It's just getting my proper macros in, and that helps me see if I have a bad workout, was it my eating or was it my sleep, you know? And that's where I'm at now.
Gotcha. Very nice. What, so what you said first, just in case people don't know, can you describe a mass gainer shake?
Mass gainer shake they're all a little different, but most of them are just loaded up with carbs, protein. It depends on the brand, but they have some fat in there. Mine was like 20 grams in a serving, which wasn't crazy. Mostly carbs. It was a lot of carbs. One serving of mine was 1250 calories. So it was a boatload of calories in there. But it really helped me a lot when I was younger, because I was also playing football, basketball. I was doing a lot. So I really needed those extra calories. Once I stopped playing football and it was just lifting, then those extra calories definitely packed on a little bit more, and
in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, so, but those helped out a lot with getting those carbs in. Then once I stopped having those, I'm all of a sudden like eating 250 grams less of carbs a day. And now I'm like, why are my workouts the way they are? You know, what's going on? My energy's in the gutter. And then that's where I had to start filling it up with real food, pasta, rice, all that stuff.
You know, I think the mass gainer shake is like, it's maybe not the most sustainable thing, but it's like, it's a great way to start to understand the concept of macronutrients and, you know, calorie totals and, you know, how that affects your body. So I think a lot of people, you know, one of my first jobs was at a GNC, and, you know, just being able to, you know, kind of look at that supplement facts and kind of break down, like, here's what we're getting. And then, you know, we extrapolate that over the course of a week, however you track your calories or do whatever, and then track your body weight. It kind of helps you understand the concept of eating in surplus, you know, especially as a guy who's trying to get bigger and stronger. You know, just a good way to get started. You know,
but I had this period where I had, when I first started with the mass scanners, and then I stopped for a while. And then at this point, it's probably maybe a year or two ago, I started having them again, because like I was having I couldn't what do you call a rice aversion. I was eating so much rice, and I'm just like, I'm sick of eating rice right now. And I couldn't get carbs in, you know, I was really struggling to eat enough carbs. So I went on Amazon, bought a mass scanner shake again, and then I'd have it, you know, and it helped me out in that period until I found more sustainable ways. And then
cereal.
There are those are great. But mass gainers are also very expensive, and the serving, it's like 16 servings, and a lot of them now it's like $60-$70, and I'm just like, all right, this is good for temporary, but I need to figure something else.
On those.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and like I said, I think it's a great starting point for a lot of people that have no idea what they're doing, just to get something in, especially when you're younger and you're doing a lot of different sports and all that. It's good to get those carbs, protein. I think it's a helpful start.
That's what I was going to touch on. I was going to say, do you guys think the young guys out there, I mean, we got a lot of these younger athletes who do so many activities, like, is this something just you think is hugely helpful for them? Because like some of them are just like, I can't gain weight no matter how much I eat. And it's like, you know, we're older now. We know you're not eating that much if you're not gaining weight. It's that simple. You think you eat a lot, but you're not eating nearly as much as you need to eat. You're very active. You're a young athlete. You might be practicing 4, 5, 6 days a week, burning a ton of calories. You think you're intaking a lot, but if you're not gaining weight, you're not intaking enough, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Why you're doing so much? You think you're eating a lot, but you're not gaining nothing. You know, so you're obviously not eating enough.
I fell into that trap when I was that age. It's like, you know, I thought I was doing enough. I was gorging myself on food, but I wasn't tracking it consistently. And
that's the thing.
And, you know, once you start to, you know, maybe start a food journal and really see how what you're eating correlates to the scale, and increasing your portion sizes, and, you know, having extra snacks and meals based on that, that's, you know, when you really start to make progress is when you use the two of those together.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
Huge. Tracking is massive, especially if you're saying you're doing something, but your results aren't showing that, then it's time to track.
That makes no sense.
Exactly right. Things aren't adding up. That's being outcome based, right?
Yeah.
You could be outcome based, or you can be subjective, which is not really useful, right? Subjective, you think you're doing something, but the outcomes don't show that, then clearly you're wrong. So you have to be willing to take a step back and accept that you can be wrong at any time in life. We all make our mistakes, right?
Totally agree.
And it's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to accept that you've been making a mistake for so long when you want to dig in. But try to be outcome based. Start to track your nutrients, and then you find out, okay, I'm not eating as much as I thought. My scale's not going up, so let me start to track, and then let me find ways to make the scale go up.
You've probably heard that 150 times. I eat everything, and then I can't gain weight. Something don't add up. And I hear you. I've heard you say that to, you know, when you look at people's tracking, it's like something doesn't make sense here. That's when I hear you in the nutrition meetings. Something doesn't make sense here. You know?
Something's not adding up. Yeah. What you're telling me, what you're showing me, and what's happening, we're missing something. That's fun. It's funny. Yeah. And the same thing goes when people are trying to lose weight. They're like, I don't eat that much calories. Okay, well then why aren't you losing weight? It doesn't make sense. Or I walk all the time. Okay, then why are you losing weight? It just doesn't make sense. We need to
Some people do have hormonal stuff going on, and you know,
there's nuance.
You know, but when you look at over a period of time, that's why I love making little graphs in Excel of like, you know, you just look at the trend line over time. It doesn't mean that 1 week you're gonna have a perfect weigh-in, and then the next week it's you know, gonna continue. Yeah. It's not linear.
Individual measurements
it's never
don't
linear,
matter. Yes.
You know. But you look at the trend over time, and that's what really gives you an accurate look at how you've been doing.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, that's why when people do fad diets, or, you know, they start a diet and they don't see any results in 2 to 3 weeks, or it's like my weight went up and I was trying to lose weight, and it's like, well, maybe like, let's stick to it. How are you feeling? And let's make adjustments based
modify.
on that.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
quit.
Yep.
You
Don't
know?
quit.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it didn't work. It just means maybe you didn't quite do it the way you need to do it, and we need to make minor modifications.
Time. It takes time.
It takes time.
A lot of trial and error.
Everything takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Patience is a virtue.
Correct. Yes.
In our business.
And that's another difficult thing though with that is patience means not getting emotionally tied to an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard not to be emotionally tied to something when you really want it to happen and you think you're doing everything right. Yep. Then you're going to be locked and you're going to be like, this is going to happen on this day and I'm going to be happy that day. You can't think about that in advance. You got to say, if this happens, I'm going to feel this way and then I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm probably going to feel this way, but I'm going to do this instead. You need to have your two little things might go well, things might go wrong. What do I do in both scenarios?
Take an action plan.
Take an action. Exactly right. Action plan. You need your next steps planned either way because things hopefully go well, but maybe they don't go well. And what's the plan?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I look at that too with just training in general. You know, it's like
that's it. The same thing.
I'm going to max out. These are my plans. This is my goal. But what happens if I don't hit it? Where do I go from there? You know, I see a lot of people, they get super upset. You know, everything's, what did I do all this work for? You know,
let me ask you,
I wasted it.
When you fail, does it make you feel like a little, you know, if you had a goal that you want to increase your bench by 10 pounds and you only increase it by 5, for me, that gives me like even more motivate, like going into the next one. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this now. Like I know exactly, like I'm going to do like little things this much better. And you know, that makes it more fun for me. I know it's not fun for everybody, but you know, I can't focus too much on numbers. 100%. It's about the journey.
Even if I got a 1 pound PR, I'm like, let's go. And then right back to it, you know, any PR is a PR.
Not everybody has 0.5 pound plates.
Yeah. 0.25. So
you got 0.25.
Yeah. You got 0.25 plates.
Wow.
There's little things.
Micro loading.
What do they look like?
Oh, they look like little silver coins earrings. Pretty much. Yep.
Silver coins.
Yep.
That's hilarious. Oh man, gotta get some for the gym.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're getting a 1 pound PR and a half pound.
Yeah, nobody's getting upset about missing PRs now. We're gonna put 0.5 on there.
Everybody's getting a PR. That's hilarious. Oh man, good stuff.
How about your nutrition journey, Rob?
That's what I was gonna say. I guess I'll hop in. Well, let's see. I started from I just ate whatever mom made, as most of us do when we're young. I think the first thing I remember, like anything with nutrition, was my mom asking the track coach, what should he be eating the night before a meet? And he was just like, pasta, lots of pasta. And like, that's it. So every time before a meet, I would just be crushing like a huge plate of pasta. No thought to protein or anything like that. It wasn't until, I guess coincidentally enough with the room we're in, not that you guys know this, but there's Dragon Ball Z characters everywhere. So at 13, I started lifting my first weights, a couple dumbbells my dad had just because I was watching Dragon Ball Z. And I was like, all right, these guys are lifting weights. I need to lift weights. Let me do a couple push-ups here and there. But fast forward to like 18, and I start actually lifting weights with a friend of mine who knew more than me about what he was doing. And then I honestly can't even remember how I started to find out that protein was important. Maybe he said something. Maybe I read it somewhere. Maybe it was my dad. But then it just became like, okay, I need protein in my meals. Protein is chicken, steak, beef, whatever, turkey. Like, okay, every meal needs to have protein now. And that became like step one, 18 years old. I remember having like, I don't know, chicken cutlet, lettuce, tomato. Like whenever I went to a pizza place, like need protein. Like pasta's okay, secondary, protein first. That's basically all I thought about. Like wasn't worried about vegetables, wasn't worried about anything like that, which I assume you guys are too. Yeah. Then, and I think that's basically how it goes for most of our young athletes. Like it's just like, guys, eat more protein. Like I know you're snacking on whatever, typically chips or cookies or some sort of junk food. So can we just get your protein intake up?
Steak up.
Eat some more steaks. If you guys like steak, tell them I need steak. That's all you moms out there. Ma, we need more steak. Steak, protein, chicken breast. Chicken breast seemed to be a big thing back then too. So I was always trying to get in chicken breast. Got the most, right? It's up there for protein per ounce, per gram. So chicken breast is a good one. And it's lean. I have a long journey. And it's easy to make. Yeah. Well, it's not easy to make well, though. A lot of times you get
it's easy. It's easy. I mean, you can boil a piece of chicken.
It is easy to screw up, too.
That's it. You can make it. But yeah, I've definitely had many dry chicken breasts where I'm like smothering them in some sort of sauce or like I need something to cover this. But yeah, it's interesting. Like that was me 18, 19, 20 years old. Now I'm 40 years old. Like my nutrition journey has progressed so much since then. it's like originally it was just proteins all that mattered. I'd be eating any types of carbs and bread. And now I'm like, I basically read every single label. Like first I would just look at, okay, how many grams of protein are in this label? What are the carbs? What are the fats? Take that in to some extent. But essentially I'm looking for a minimum of 20, 25 grams per meal. Eventually I'm like 20 for 25 grams is not nearly enough. Now I'm looking 30, 35 grams per meal. These days, each meal is 50 to 70 grams of protein because I typically eat 3 meals per day. Back then I was closer to like 5 meals per day, right? That's kind of, I don't know. That was like a lot of things talked about that back then. You want to eat 6 meals and you want to have 25 grams of protein. You need to dose your protein in each meal. Whereas now the evidence is more like that doesn't matter that much as long as your total volume of protein for the day is in the range you want it to be in. So typically I'm around 200 pounds. I want to have a 200 grams of protein per day to match my 200 pounds of body weight, right? I don't know how much I want to deep dive into everything I've done in my nutrition journey. I mean, now I'm a certified precision nutrition coach. So I know a lot about that stuff. I know a lot in depth of what you should be aiming for. We really want to have 1/3 of your fats should be saturated. 1/3 should be polyunsaturated. 1/3 should be monounsaturated. That's a little bit advanced for people, and it gets a little boring, but yeah. If you're doing that, you're optimizing your fat intake. So you're going to have optimal hormone intake, optimal hormones, hormone creation, and optimal fat intake. And then carbohydrates, you're generally trying to make sure you get a decent amount of fiber per day. I recently read something that said every 10 grams of fiber you increase your intake by will reduce your risk of all-cause mortality by, it was 25%. Don't quote me on that number, but basically increase your fiber intake, decrease your risk of death. Who doesn't want to die? Who wants to live longer? All of us, right? We don't want to die.
Optimally,
yes. Optimally, we stay young for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So
good to feel young.
What would you say? We talked about the 1 gram per pound body weight with protein.
Yep.
As athletes trying to get stronger, faster, better at a sport, what would you say carbs and fats are like a good goal?
Oh, that's tough. That's going to depend on the sport and the activity.
Let's just say if it comes down to lifting or just being generally in shape. You're somebody just trying to maintain based on performance.
Based on performance generally. All right. So I would say, maintenance, I'm going to say multiply your body weight. So if you're trying to maintain your current body weight, let's say you multiply it by 15. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you're looking for 3,000 calories. You're going to get 200 grams of protein. The remaining calories are so that's going to be 2,200 calories. Those are going to come from fats and carbs. So as a general rule, you could just split it up 50-50, 50% calories fats, 50% calories from carbs, and you're going to be good to go. But maybe you know a little bit about your body and you don't do carbs as well. So maybe you want to change that and you go 40% carbs, 60% fats. There's a good way that's just 50-50 is a good way to start. And then you learn about your body and see how your body reacts.
Micromanage a little bit. Start
to play around. This is why it's really good to track, because now you can play these games and you could run, we didn't chat on that last time, but self-experiments. If you're tracking things, you could run self-experiments and you can see how your body reacts, how your lifts feel, and how your strength changes on these little experiments. So you run an experiment, you say, all right, I'm going to eat 3,000 calories a day, 200 grams of protein, 40% carbs, 60% fats. Let's run that for a month and let's see what happens. Strength gains are great. Okay, I'm sticking with this. This is perfect for me. And maybe that works forever. Maybe it doesn't. Or maybe your activity starts to change and now you need to up your carbs and drop your fats. But yeah, that's going to be my answer to that. Let's go into Anthony's journey.
My journey.
I feel like I'm at a stopping point there.
Yeah, no, it's my journey is a long one and it's a little bit different. So growing up, I was a big kid. I was kind of, I wasn't chunky. I was skinny fat. When I got to late elementary school through middle school and early high school, I got made fun of a lot. I got picked on for the way that my body looked, particularly in, as I was in like 6th, 7th grade. So kind of like the formative years. So because of that, I became someone I'm very prone to, and I've fallen into, several times over the years, habits of really disordered eating. So, and So as I'm in middle school, you know, I'm one of the bigger kids, which always helped me in football because I wasn't that athletic. And you know, you're getting picked on and girls are commenting on your body. It's like, you know, all I wanted to do was be thin.
Mm-hmm.
So as I kind of, you know, I started to grow taller and I was, you know, starving myself a little bit. And my freshman year of high school, I reached my peak height that I'm at now. I was about 6'1". I was about 120 pounds. So, you know, because all I wanted to do was be thin and, you know, kind of be accepted by the majority. Problem with that was I wasn't as athletic as the other skinny kids because I had come from, you know, being out of shape and, you know, never really having that juice like that. So that kind of put a dent in my football skills, put a dent in my identity. So it came to the point where I signed up to do strength and conditioning with JR at Believe in Monroe. And I had our nutrition meeting with him. And at this point, you know, I'd come off a couple of years where I was, you know, I'd spent months where I was struggling to eat, where I would, you know, hide my eating habits. And so most of what I was eating was things that I could hide, like chicken nuggets, mac and cheese. I would eat, you know, bag of chips or cookies. My parents always put dinner on the table that was, you know, healthy. My dad was always a healthy eater, particularly during the week. It was always a protein, a vegetable, and some type of rice or potato or something.
Nice.
So my dinner was always healthy. But more often than not, that was my only real meal. So when I kind of broke this down to JR, he was like, look, man, a lot of what you're eating is garbage. You know, the cookies, the chips, the dinner's great. You know, it's great that you're having steak during the week, but you have to improve your eating habits and eat real foods. So that was a real kind of awakening for me. That was like, if I wanted to reach my goals and become that, you know, regain my identity of being a good football player, then I had to, you know, start eating real foods if I wanted to put on that quality mass and gain strength. So that was the first big obstacle for me.
A tough one.
But yeah, like I said, 120 pounds as a freshman in high school. By my junior year, I was up at 175. Once I started eating a little bit better, I focused on taking snacks to school, healthy lunches, and really just eating real foods and cutting out the junk that my cabinets were full of that I would I would eat empty calories just all day, every day.
Yeah, that's a big change, man.
Yeah, like I said, mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, all that good stuff. All the comfort foods, kind of.
Comfort foods.
So, yeah, I mean, and I got to college at 170 pounds, and that's where I learned the thing I was missing my entire life, I think, was an older brother. Because I met some of my teammates when I started playing rugby in college, and I got that kind of like older brother bullying of like, you know, just putting that pressure on me, you know, in a friendly and supportive way of like, you know, they really encouraged me because they were big into lifting of like, hey, you got to get stronger. You know, we would talk trash to each other and they would be like, hey, you're the only one that can't bench 315. And you know, that made me feel kind of bad sometimes, but it was also like we were all at the gym together and college. I'll say this for anybody who's watching. If you're at college and you have an unlimited meal plan, take advantage of it. All right. They called me the bistro creature. There's a dining hall at Cortland that's right next to the gym. That's right next to the state-of-the-art student life center. You could walk into bistro at any point in the day. I'd say there's about an 85% chance I was sitting there somewhere. Right? I would sit there, I'd listen, you know, and I'm like I said, I'm crazy. I'm prone to, you know, getting in these habits of crazy eating. I'm a person who I can eat the same things every day and I never get bored of it. I can eat bland food. Just doesn't bother me because I eat for fuel. I eat
what
for
you got to do
whatever.
for the goals.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was eating boiled chicken and, you know, I had it all planned out that I would get double of this, double of that for breakfast and have a bagel. And, you know, I got a 1,200 calorie breakfast and I'm going back 4 more times during the day. I wound up gaining 70 pounds in college and it was pretty... Wow. It was mostly lean mass. So I got to college at about 175. The heaviest I weighed in my senior year was 242. And I was, you know, still had...
It's impressive.
I had a little bit of fluff on me, but I still had visible abs. So that was kind of my strategy was, I eat the same things every day. And if I'm not happy with the weight on the scale, then I'm just going to up my portions. I'm making sure that these are mainly healthy whole foods, which is big for me. I think everybody should really try to focus on eating those whole foods first, even before you start tracking your calories. Make sure you're eating the right stuff. Make sure you're not just eating nonsense. Now I've gotten to the point where I don't want to be any bigger, because when I was 240, I was, I had the people close to me were like, dude, too big. The legs, my legs are distracting. So I've spent the past 4 years like actively trying to shrink my legs. I have to be careful with my workouts to not do too much volume.
Who said that to you? Your legs are distracting.
Mom, ex-girlfriend. My mom still says your legs were too big when you were that heavy. I was like, yeah, I agree.
Not a bad problem. Then.
Yeah. So now, I'm pretty happy with the way, I don't really train for aesthetics. I'd like to have some bigger biceps, shoulders, but I'm done with the perpetual bulk. I'm kind of, just happy to eat in a little bit intuitively. I'm in a little bit of a different headspace now than I was when I was super competitive athlete and, having some problems with insecurity. This was also at the time of the fitness influencer boom, where I was seeing people on the internet who were 18 years old loaded up on steroids that looked like just Goku. And I'm like, why don't I look like that? That makes me feel kind of bad. But I feel like it was the, that older brother bullying that I mentioned before that really helped push me in the right direction, because I had people who were, motivating me and, kind of taking digs at me, but also being supportive at the same time. And it was competitive and we were all there for each other. And that really helped. So I'll say this for the young guys and girls that are going to college right now: take advantage of your meal plan, take advantage of your gym. No better time in life to make a transformation. Stay away from too much booze.
And don't forget, he said eat whole foods primarily, all right?
Yeah.
You're not going there to eat cookies and cakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good journey, Coach. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that quote. Your legs are distracting.
It was true.
It's a great line. Good stuff. All right. I think we hit a couple good themes there. I love the whole foods. It's definitely the most important thing, is that you're taking in whole foods. That means you're getting your food from essentially the outside of the grocery store, which is where you're going to have things without nutrition labels generally, right? Like chicken, steak, beef, vegetables, fruits. Your carbohydrates should be from whole foods as well, although pasta's pretty good, even though that's somewhat processed. But rice, fruits. Where else are we getting carbs that are not processed, guys?
Potatoes.
Rice,
I love
fruits,
potatoes.
Duh, love potatoes. Yeah. White potatoes, sweet potatoes. All the above are good, by the way. White potato versus sweet potato, it doesn't matter. Just take your pick. They both have benefits, trade-offs. Shoot, that actually reminds me. I was listening to a podcast on the way here, and I loved that they talked about trade-offs, because that's basically everything in life is trade-offs. Nothing is a perfect positive or a perfect negative. The same goes with nutrition. There's positives and negatives to eating well. Most people who want to change their nutrition are experiencing the negatives to their current nutrition, and they want to trade off the way they eat for more positive benefits. These are things that are going to come from whole foods, from tracking your nutrition, and from getting the appropriate amounts of carbohydrates, fats, and carbs into your body, and the appropriate amount of total calories for your current calorie expenditure.
All right, Coach. So what if someone comes up to you and goes, yeah, the whole foods is good and stuff, but eggs, steak, it's going to give me cholesterol problems. It's just not good. They say it's terrible for you. What would you say to them?
Common question these days, right? Huge misconception too, which, what can we say? There was a lot of data and articles and stuff. I remember even growing up in my 20s, like being afraid of eggs, being afraid of salt, starting to be like, should I be eating red meat? Maybe I should switch. I even actually remember a phase in my life where I ate mostly chicken and stayed away from steak and stuff.
They were saying red meat's as bad as cigarettes if you have too much.
That's true. That was out there. Yeah. They probably had eggs like that too, which thank God that's all been refuted, because who doesn't love a good steak? Nonsense, right? So studies have unquestionably shown that dietary cholesterol does not impact your blood cholesterol. That doesn't mean your diet doesn't impact your cholesterol, but eating cholesterol doesn't impact your blood cholesterol. Your liver releases cholesterol into your body not the foods you eat, and that can be dictated by what you eat, but it has nothing to do with eating eggs. I think, wasn't there a guy at Harvard who ate like some ridiculous number of eggs, like hundreds of eggs this guy ate, and his blood cholesterol
He probably
didn't
felt
change.
great.
Maybe. But it was
I feel like he probably did. Yeah.
Insane thing that he took upon himself. He tested his own blood and was eating like hundreds of eggs.
Yep.
But anyway, eat eggs. They're good for you. They are essentially a multivitamin. The egg yolk you should eat as well. There could be caveats to that. I mean, if you're a smaller person and you're eating 14 eggs a day, maybe you're getting too much fats in and maybe that's bad. But generally speaking, 3 to 6 eggs a day, almost everybody can have that much and they're going to be good to go. Red meat, delicious. The big caveat here is if you're eating fatty meats like ribeyes for every meal every day, you're going to increase your saturated fat intake. And, we do see in the data that high saturated fat intake is going to affect you negatively. It's going to affect your health and have negative repercussions for your health. So you want to have leaner cuts of steak, flank steak, sirloin steaks, maybe strip steaks without not eating the fatty parts of it. But steak's delicious. Enjoy it. Just don't cook it well done because that's disgusting.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Medium rare.
It's a shame. It's disgraceful.
That's a shame. I'm not. Yeah. Everyone around you will question your decisions when we hear you order a well done steak. Like,
and put some salt on it for Christ's sake. I mean, it's okay to have salt. That's the next one that I'll touch on.
Yeah.
It's like look into you need. It's called the salt potassium pump in your muscle. That every single muscular contraction you have, sodium. And it's, why are these things, this is a question I'll ask you, why are these things like, why were they fear-mongered? Or do you have any idea or mystified as these evil things when they're naturally part of our body? Like,
I can't recall the exact story about what happened with salt. I just remember that they started to believe that it increased blood pressure, and then they felt that the increased blood pressure was enough to make people have heart attacks. So that's basically
obviously everything in moderation. Right. You wouldn't eat you probably shouldn't eat 100 eggs every day for every meal.
Yes.
But you have a lot of wiggle room before you're eating too much eggs, too much steak. Certainly. If you're a healthy individual who exercises and gets a good sweat going, too much salt, and drinks the proper amount of water.
Right.
Although
honestly,
go ahead.
You're probably going to be more full before you can even get to that amount of steak or eggs.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Right. Eating whole foods like that. Yes. But that's a good point on the salt thing. Some of that just came from so many people were eating just processed foods that are just smothered in salt. And so maybe their sodium intakes were so high because they didn't make any food at home. You're going out.
And then they're drinking sodas instead of water.
You're drinking soda instead of, you're basically not cooking home meals anymore.
That vast majority of people too that they look at, it's like most of them are overweight. Most of them don't work out. They sit at a desk all day. They need something quick from McDonald's or whatever, and then they eat that up. So now you got a lot of other factors that cause that high blood pressure or health issues that they just point at something and go, oh, it's the sodium.
It's the sodium. Yes.
Then it becomes this big thing. It spreads through everywhere.
Yes. And not to mention, then those people, all right, you're eating a processed diet. You're going out for Chinese food for lunch. You go home, you get takeout. Breakfast is an egg sandwich. And all these things maybe are salted by the restaurant and they're salted to excess to make it taste extra good. You would never put that much salt on your own food. And then you're overweight. You sit at a desk all day. You don't exercise. So then all these things, there's a lot of variables coming together to make you an unhealthy person. It's not. Yeah. And then
focus on your habits.
People start to cherry pick on one thing. It's the salt. It's the meat. Right. But it's all these other things combined that are creating the issue.
One thing I noticed in my own journey too, when I started really transitioning into the whole foods, it was like I wasn't getting enough salt when I was making my own steak or chicken. Like I really wasn't eating enough salt. And then I'm like, I really started salting a lot. I would take this just pink sea salt. I take like a capful before a workout, and then I just take electrolyte packets and stuff. But it's just I wasn't even getting nearly enough salt.
I only started the electrolyte packets that Rob and his wife got me into the Element packets, and I love them. They taste nice. I look forward to drinking my Element every day.
That's me too.
Sponsor,
it's like a morning
sponsor us, please.
It's like a morning boost, though. You get that salt in, you're like, wow, I feel a little better. And after 8 hours of no water and no electrolytes, it's just like, wow.
And there are times when I've felt off, and then I've gotten those electrolytes in, and I'm like, oh,
this is all I needed.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And I even look back when I was in school and how many times during class I'd have like crazy brain fog. I'd sit
Mhm.
there, and obviously, you're a young kid, you might not want to pay attention, but it's like I'm sitting there in class, and I have a headache. I remember this almost every day. It was
Yeah.
just
Taking Advil.
headaches, or
Yeah.
I was just exhausted.
Masking
and,
the real problem.
Yeah, and now I sit here and I look back, and I'm like, for one, I didn't drink water for the entire class. So for most,
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
time I'd really ever drink water was during lunch.
Yeah.
So for a lot of my day,
No
I'd
chocolate
wake
milk.
up. Oh, I always had that during lunch. But yeah, I wasn't drinking a lot of water, and then salt. I wasn't getting a lot of salt. And it's like, I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, I had crazy brain fog, couldn't pay attention. I was just exhausted during class. And if I ever feel like that now, I get that same feeling. I'm like, drink some water, get some salt in it, and all of a sudden it's gone. I'm like, oh wow, this is
They did
crazy.
a really good job with scaring us with salt. Like I think a ton of people, like, I was like, I've been an active person my whole life, but I was always scared of salt. And I'm like, let me not put salt on this thing. Let me not. And it's like, I was undercutting myself. Like I was causing more issues than I was helping. I was making myself underhydrated basically.
Yeah.
And I would still drink a lot of water. So now it's like I'm drinking all the water, but not getting the electrolytes.
Right.
And that also has negative
There's a
repercussions, right?
balance you have to find.
Huge balance.
That's hydration is not just water.
Yeah.
It's the balance of water and electrolytes.
Yeah. So in the Hudson Valley a few years back, they had a water drinking contest and a woman died because she drank so much water with no electrolytes in it. And her fluid balance got off and she died. Like you can also
That's
die.
scary.
It's scary.
Yeah.
And you could die from having too much water without the electrolytes with it. If she had salt in there, she probably would have been fine.
So she essentially
But
like drowned.
She drowned. Exactly right. Her cells drowned in too much water without the electrolytes. Yeah. And I remember reading about that with like marathoners, like stuff like that. It's like, if you drink so much water, you're trying to hydrate, but you're not taking in the salt where you sweat out like 1,000 milligrams of salt per hour, gram of salt per hour when you're intense activity. That's a lot of salt to replace. So if you're not doing
Absolutely.
And they have I'm pretty sure, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the little gel packets that they have electrolytes in them, and sugar too. Which sugar is, try to limit your processed sugar, but sugar is not the enemy. Your body uses it for energy.
Yes.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
It's, limit your processed sugar, but if you eat a banana and you go for a run, that sugar is immediately.
I've heard people say fruit, like it's got sugar, it's bad for you. I'm just like,
actually just saw a post
you could
about that the other day.
have a granola bar. We were just talking about cereal before this. That those carbs that you're ingesting, it all gets turned into, essentially we could call it broad stroke sugar when it goes into the body. I just call it sugar.
Yeah.
It's going right to your muscles after you worked out. Right.
It's the best time to have it.
Restoring your glycogen so you could recover better and potentially do more efforts of energy.
Certainly.
Yeah. Nuance to everything.
Yeah.
But broad stroke, that's definitely true. Everything depends on somebody's goals, where they're at right now. That's one of the toughest things about nutrition, is that it's like a lot of things are true or false depending on the person and their situation. And
context specific.
Everything's context specific. Exactly right. Everything's got to be nuanced. You can't just, that's also where you go back to self-experimentation that we talked about earlier. That's the best thing, is you run your own experiments. But in order to run a good experiment, you need to have data and you need to have objective data. So you need to be measuring things to run an experiment, measuring your weight, your percent body fat, your muscle mass, your workouts, your sleep. The more things you measure, the more data you have to make outcome-based decisions on.
You could practice your Excel graph skills.
Exactly.
You make a graph, you could have multiple lines going, hours of sleep and calories ingested and RPE in the workout. Like, that's nerd stuff. But
if you don't like it, that's why you hire a coach. Exactly right. You hire a coach that likes to do it. You give them the info. They make the graphs. And they're like, oh, this is fun. Yes.
And it looks nice, and,
Yes.
I always feel a sense of pride, particularly when I was, going through a phase where my goal was to gain 10 pounds. And then I look over the course of, I put the number, I just track it in my phone every day. And then I put it in an Excel sheet, and then I get to see the line go, trending up like before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Progress. It's good. Progress is fun.
Yeah.
Especially when you pick something you want to progress towards and you're like, it's happening. I'm getting a little better. I'm getting a little closer. Sometimes it's sad when you hit the top or you hit the goal and you're like, what do I do
next?
now?
What
do I want to work on next? But then you think of something you're excited about and you go down that hole, and there it is. he could edit it out. Our boy Caesar just brought this up.
Shout out Caesar.
Yeah, shout out Caesar. So nutrient timing. So Caesar asked, does nutrient timing matter? When should you eat? How often should you eat? And yeah, we touched on this earlier again. He maybe missed this part, but nutrient timing doesn't really matter. It doesn't not matter at all because as coach just mentioned, sugar and carbs post-workout, that's really the ideal time to have carbohydrates. You definitely want carbohydrates in that meal, and you definitely want protein in that meal. There's also some stuff we're finding out now that this is even more important for ladies, particularly ladies over 40 and 50. You definitely want to have protein and carbs within an hour after you work out. Guys, it's a little bit less important, but it is still important, right? Guys, I think they say guys have like a 3-hour window that you need to get in those proteins and carbs. They used to say an hour, but yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like there was, a lot of back and forth about this anabolic window.
Yeah.
Which so is it window. And this is a question, not a statement. Is it that 1 to 3 hour window after the workout, is that actually the only time, or is it because muscle protein synthesis is active, what if you stimulate for 24 to 48 plus hours after the workout, but getting that meal in 1 to 3 hours is it recommended or necessary?
It only matters if you're in the really high level of people who have a very specific goal, that are like, you're an extremely elite athlete, you're already extremely muscular and strong, you're trying to put more muscle on. It really only matters for such a small percentage of population that almost everyone we talk to, it won't matter for.
Okay.
Right? Like, it's like, are you a bodybuilder who is already very muscular, well above average muscularity, still trying to put more muscle on, and you're struggling to put it on, then maybe it matters. Or are you a very high level athlete who's very muscular and is trying to put more muscle on, and then maybe it matters. If you're a pretty normal person, even relatively fit person, all that matters is that you're getting enough total protein for the day, because like you said, you have that 24 to 48 hour window of muscle protein synthesis. You have all that time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, generally speaking, it's like, get enough protein for the day, get it whenever you can. It doesn't matter.
Optimally, you're getting it at a time that feels good for you.
Correct.
It's going to be dependent on your routine, because some people have they have points in the day where they might crash, or they might have low blood sugar, or so whenever you focus on feeling good.
That's it. What feels good, what is doable, what is sustainable for you. And then there's the other caveat, like all right, if you have a big meal right before bed, typically it impacts your ability to get good sleep and to get REM sleep. So like, you probably don't want to do that. But that also is going to be like, how old are you? Because like when I was 20, I could eat at any time of day and I would sleep like a rock anyway. Yeah. And then like now that I'm 40, I'm like, I don't like to eat 3 hours before bed because I know I'll feel it and I'll roll around a little bit longer before I actually get into my deep sleep. So there's all kinds of nuances there, right?
And do you track your sleep habits on your that's on your watch?
Yep. And usually I check out a little report in the morning.
Do you get to see REM hours and stuff like that?
That's it. And then I'm always like, I try to experiment with different protocols. Like for me, I find if I don't eat 3 hours before bed, I tend to get better REM sleep. I also try to take magnesium before bed. I also like the stuff called Moon Brew. So like that's magnesium and zinc and a few herbs. I'll take that. Plus I'll take 240 milligrams of magnesium with that. And then I find I get better REM sleep. Seems to be something that's happening as I get older. Like getting REM sleep is more difficult. I'm pretty good at deep sleep, but I need to run through these little specific things or I don't get like the REM sleep. And it's like, the watch is one thing. You could say maybe I don't believe the watch, but when the watch says I don't get REM sleep, and I also can tell that like my brain feels a little off in the morning. I'm like, I probably didn't get the REM sleep.
Well, the watch is giving you the best data that it could possibly provide. Yes. So you take that data, and you're a guy who knows how to kind of interpret and extrapolate, and pay attention to how you feel at the same time.
Yep.
So that's kind of a perfect meeting of
exactly right. That's how you're trying to use it, but it's like I don't know. Everything's a pendulum. You first get something like this and you start tracking, and it's like you could just be like so obsessed over like every little detail.
Yeah. Right,
and it's like, calm down. The watch is not gospel. Like I feel great today, but it says I'm bad. Like, so I'm going to have a bad workout. Like, no, maybe it's a little bit off. Maybe something like things happen with
this is something we talked about last week.
Yes.
It's not allowing these things, it's
can't consume your brain.
Yeah, it can't. Right. It's, it can't stop you if you got, what I don't know what a 72% whoop score. I don't know if that's
Right.
is
That's
that,
it.
that
0 to 100 for whoop.
So would that be considered?
That's actually
good
a
or
good.
bad?
That's a good
Yeah,
score.
all
That's
right.
a good
So
score.
say you got
Down to the bottom.
Say
is
you
bad.
got a
33%.
Yeah, you got
20%.
a 46%, but it's like you have a workout today. All right, maybe you're not going for PRs, but it shouldn't stop you from stepping in the
It
gym.
shouldn't. Yeah,
You know?
exactly right. But it's weird because maybe you do get a PR.
Maybe
that
you
day.
do. See how you feel.
That's what I mean. Like
Good.
you warm up and suddenly you feel
Yeah,
excellent.
that's sometimes
I used to tell kids would come to me and be like, I'm not feeling it today. I'm tired. I'm this, I'm that. And the first part of our warm up would be, I would just say feet together, hang your hands. We'd do a hamstring back stretch. So when kids would tell me they don't, they're not feeling it today, I just go feet together, hang your hands. And then because we start warming up. If you still feel bad after the warm up, all right, go home. See ya.
Yeah,
that's it.
But
Agree.
I mean, let's
100%.
see. Yeah.
Sometimes you get through a warm up, you get your blood flowing a little bit. You feel
So that same thing that we're touching to connect the two. It's like that same thing we were just touching on sleep connects to food. It's like if you didn't 100% nail it, keep going. Don't throw it all away.
Yeah,
We see a lot of people fall into bad habits.
It's frustrating.
Of especially if their nutrition timing is poor. Maybe you didn't have anything to eat all day, so it's just like screw it. I'll have a binge. Late at night, but that could potentially mess you up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
and then the cycle repeats.
Yeah, stick to the script as best as you can, reasonably. Try to stay in good habits and set yourself up to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. You can
All
have
about the habits.
a week of, say I'm eating 4,000 calories and every single day I hit everything I got to hit, and one day I eat 3,300, and then you can't look back on it and go, oh, that was a terrible week of eating.
Yep.
You just have to, you miss one day, it's like on to the next, and you
That's it.
move on to the next day, have a good day, keep it rolling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sun will rise again. It's a new
That's right.
day. It's a new opportunity to get it
Absolutely.
to get it all better, get it right.
Yeah. Breakfast. What are our thoughts on breakfast?
I love breakfast. I'm hungry.
I think-
As soon as I
I
wake
love
up, I can't wait
breakfast
to
as
eat.
well.
What do you mean?
I'm context specific on that too, because for me, for example, I wake up and then I'm pretty much working out like an hour or so after I wake up. So it's like I like to have something small and then I get right into my workout. Most of my big eating is right after my workout and then throughout the rest of my day before I go to bed, and then I'm up ready to work out right in the morning. But like if you work out in the afternoon, evening, I still think having a nice big breakfast or something, and maybe you're not hungry in the morning, have something small and then eat when you're hungry. That's specific on how your day is. But
Agreed.
I think if you're ready to get up, working, ready to wake up, ready to eat, have a nice big nutritious breakfast, and then start your day off right.
Yeah. You also have to know your body and what you're eating, because certain things have which this is a bit more specific, but certain things are just more digestible than others. And they're gonna hit you faster, or they're gonna make you sluggish. So you got to be conscious a little bit, and we could touch on this in the future. But just being conscious of what is going to properly fuel. I know you're familiar with a bunch of protocols for fueling before training or before competition. I didn't go on record before. I'm a breakfast lover, but I have a good routine. I know that I eat my breakfast about 90 minutes before I'm about to train, and I'm consistent with it, and it gets me feeling good at that 90-minute mark when it's time to go.
Perfect.
Well, if you're sitting here listening, going, "How do I know?" You just have to hop in and try. You're gonna have a breakfast, and you're like, "This wasn't it this morning," and then maybe have another one the next day where you're like, "All right, this is sustainable.
Maybe start
I feel
small.
good." That's it. I mean, I started. I'd eat a ton of eggs in the morning and try to go work out, and then after a week or two, I'm like, "Yeah, I can't just keep doing this," And then I'd switch I just have some yogurt granola in the morning and drink some water up, and then I get going. So. It takes a little bit of time to find what's going to really work for you, but that's it. You got to just experiment.
You always remember the really bad experiments. Like when you do something, you
never
never
do that.
forget those. Those are like, I remember I had a protein shake with milk before like an alumni race, and like it was like an hour before the race, and I'm running. I get the worst cramp ever, and I'm like, why am I getting this cramp? And I'm just like, why did I have a shake with milk before I'm going for a run? It's like, I'm an idiot, and now I got to finish 3 miles, just like suffering the whole time. It's horrible. Never do that again. Never made that mistake again.
Yeah, definitely think about the experiment a little bit, and then you gotta start. Just gotta start somewhere. Just gotta try.
When something goes wrong, look back and be like, what did I do wrong here? Intermittent fasting. So if it works for you, it works for you. I don't hate it. There's anything wrong with it. I know people who are extremely successful with it, and I know people who have had terrible success with it. Some people, it's like anything. You can go too far to an extreme, or you can do it really well.
Right.
I think it's one of those things that we see success because people are improving their habits while they're doing intermittent fasting and they're eating maybe healthier or they're eating less calories.
That's it. Less total calories.
Yeah, because it's it's going to be at the end of the day total calorie. A calorie is a calorie is a calorie. If you're a person who you feel fresh when you don't eat breakfast, or you just like to sip water, or whatever for the first X hours of your day. And you're improving your habits later in the day when you're in that eating window, then you're going to see success for your body.
Yep.
That doesn't work for everybody. So it's going to depend on the person.
Yep.
So just so much context specific there. And I've never done intermittent fasting straight up, but I've had like a day or two, where I have like a really small breakfast and maybe I won't eat for a lot of the day, or I'll even take a Sunday, for example. Maybe I'll wake up and I'll go for like a run or something like that. And then I won't eat till maybe noon, I'll run at like 8 a.m. I won't have anything just cause like I feel good not eating anything for a while. And then, I hydrate up and then have a nice lunch or whatever when I'm hungry, but it's like, sometimes you're starving and you don't feel good.
You want to eat.
So I think intermittent fasting's nice because it takes people that have a really poor routine and throws something in there. It's like, okay, I can't do this. Now you're thinking I can't eat during this time. And now you have to start planning when I got to start eating and what I'm going to do. And now it's
providing that structure.
Right.
Exactly. It makes them more conscious of what they're eating, when they're eating.
Yeah.
But it could be a double-edged sword because on the one hand, you got some people who just reduces their calorie intake, helps them lose weight. I remember a guy I used to work with at an office job. He would do like, one day he would basically fast for like half the day, eat like 500-600 calories. The next day he'd eat whatever he wanted. I would not recommend this plan, but it worked really well for him and he looked pretty healthy. But it's like, on the one hand, if you're eating the right things in your feeding window, as it typically goes, then you could do really well with intermittent fasting. But some people might just not eat enough in their window.
Certainly.
And now they could be losing weight, but what if it's all muscle? Or what if it's a majority of muscle? Now it's like, we're not getting enough protein in. Maybe in a 4 or 6 hour eating window, you can't get in enough protein, or you just can't eat enough food to maintain the muscle mass you have. Now you actually have a negative out of your intermittent fasting.
Right.
So it's like, again, it's always context specific and person specific. What works for this person? But I think it's a tool in the arsenal. Like if that works for you, experiment with the tool. You find you lose weight, you're keeping on muscle, your workouts are great. Intermittent fast. Why not? If I think about it, I kind of intermittent fast, but not like a normal way. Like I eat breakfast at 4 a.m. I typically don't get lunch until noon. And then I try to get my last meal in at 4. So like I have these 2 big windows where I'm not really eating. Like 4 to noon is 8 hours. And then my next might be, sometimes it could be 5 to 4 where it's like 12 hours. I don't think about it as intermittent fasting. I just, these are the times where I eat, where it helps me sleep best and it helps me optimize my day.
Now that you say that, I'm kind of the same way. I have my breakfast, I work out, and then I have something, protein shake, and then wait a little bit, have my big meal, and then for the whole afternoon, I have nothing until I get home, 9 or 10 o'clock.
Do you guys eat larger meals as opposed to snacking? Because, and I forget if we touched on this earlier in this podcast, but there was, you might have mentioned it. People were saying, you should be eating 6 times a day, or you should be, so you guys, you guys prefer to, kind of spread it out a little bit more and have those larger meals. I think I would agree there. Like a snack every once in a while, especially if you trained earlier in the day and then you got to go to work. I like to have a, little granola bar or something, just to kind of keep you going, keep that blood sugar up, keep your energy high. So I think that's a good purpose for snacks if you're using it for fuel and energy purposes, or if you if you had breakfast earlier and then you're going to work out in the afternoon, here's a little something I can have.
Right.
That's it. Agree.
I've seen a lot of success from people who have like really structured snacking routines though, where it's not really it's a smaller meal.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's a
It's a
smaller,
smaller
meal.
meal.
I've seen that
And
too.
it's just you're eating, maybe they just prefer and they don't crash and they prefer to eat more frequently throughout the day. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's going to, whether they gain or lose weight is going to come out to
Yeah.
their total calories like we discussed.
Yep. Depends on their day and their life and how things. Like I remember when I worked in an office job, I would eat breakfast. Then I would want a break because I did like phone calls and it was like, just murder me. So
Yeah.
like at a certain time of day, like I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna eat a meal. It's gonna rejuvenate me. I'm gonna go for a short walk, or like it'd really be like a small snack, right? Like a little
Yeah.
bit of protein, maybe like a yogurt and some fruit, and then I would have lunch. And same deal, I'd go for a walk and eat lunch, then go for a walk, and then like towards the end of the day, or right when I got home, I'd have a snack. Then I'd have dinner later. But it just like fit in really nice with the structure of my day then. Versus now, just like the structure of my day is like wake up, eat, train for a large chunk of hours. Then I need to, then maybe work out, and then eat, and then train for a large chunk of hours, and then eat again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the day. Or maybe I'll eat, take a break, hang out with my baby, and then eat again, and then train for a few hours, and then I don't eat for the rest of the day. But yeah,
I think
it's almost just fits in with the structure of the day. Like how does
Right.
my day work, and how do I want to eat?
the big picture of all of it is just like the routine,
Yes.
and the
Agreed.
structure, because building muscle likes a routine.
Mhm.
You're not going to build muscle very efficiently if you go to sleep at random times or
Correct.
wake up at random times, eat at different times. It likes consistency.
Yes, the
And-
nervous system likes consistency.
Everything,
Yes.
so losing weight, building muscle, whatever it might be, it's all consistency. And that's really how you have to build your routine, is just finding something. There's no instruction manual on what you need to do. You got to
Mhm.
find what works for you,
Yep.
and then build that routine and consistency to get to your goals that you want to get to.
Yes, well said.
I think the
like
people
that.
that reach their goals are, the people who are willing to ask questions and try stuff. And kind of a call to action for anybody that's listening at home. It's like, find somebody that you trust. It doesn't have to be, hopefully it's a professional if you're asking
Mhm.
about nutrition, but find somebody that you trust that you could just run a question by. If you have questions, and just refer to them and then form your own opinions about what they say. Try different stuff. Like I've gone to these guys had multiple discussions about training, about diet.
Mhm.
Just find somebody you trust, so that you could kind of have somebody to bounce off of
ideas
and
off of,
help
yes.
help you figure it out, what's going to work best for you, because we've seen it all.
Mhm.
We talk to so many people. We talk to a bunch of people who are having success losing weight, who are having success gaining weight,
Mhm.
who are happy with their body right now, and they just want to feel they want to feel a little bit better. So all different type of goals, all different type of strategies we're familiar with, so at least we could bring them to the conversation. Hey, maybe this might be something that works for you.
Mhm.
So find somebody
That's
you
good.
trust, ask them questions.
Yep.
You can message us too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We'll get back to you as soon as we can. We're free.
yeah.
We're not free, but we have time.
I might be
We'll
cooking
fit
a
it
steak,
in.
but I'll.
That's it. It might be
yeah.
cooking a steak.
I think you cook steaks at all hours of the
Me
day.
too.
I
He's always
really
cooking
don't know.
steaks.
all
I think
the time.
anytime I text you, I just assume you're at the grill.
Yep, at the grill.
Yeah.
Yep, got the tongs in my
He's got a
hands.
brisket
Yeah.
coming soon. I can't
Oh,
wait to
yeah.
hear about this.
Yep, that's gonna be good.
All right, guys. So, yeah, that was our nutrition podcast. Thanks a lot for listening. We appreciate you guys. I think we went a little longer than we expected today, but hopefully you garnered something from this. Hopefully it was helpful in some way. And hopefully you're willing to try out some sort of nutritional experiment and training experiment to improve your life. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.
See you when I see you.
Build a routine.
What he said.